Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is the 10th lecture of the course Mycology and Plant Pathology, and I am here, Dr. Sana Jabin, and today we will be discussing about the Chytridiomycota, which is the phylum in kingdom fungi. And here in our course, in the fungal systematics part, previously we have studied about the classification of fungi in detail. Then we studied about the Myxomycota, which is classified under the kingdom Protozoa, and Oomycota under the kingdom Chromista. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the Chytridiomycota, that is the first phylum in our syllabus that belongs to kingdom fungi, which is preceded by other fungal phyla in kingdom fungi, including Zygomycota, Ascomycota, and Basidiomycota. In this lecture, we will be studying about the somatic structures, that is the vegetative mycelium of the members in Chytridiomycota, and we will consider a representative species from this phylum to study its life cycle. So let's start with the introduction to some phyla. This is the list of fungal phyla mentioned in our syllabus, which I organized according to kingdoms to which they belong. Then according to their vegetative forms, including presence and absence of septa, and then their diversity or complexity. First, we will start with the introduction to Chytridiomycota. The name is derived from the Greek language Chytridion, meaning little pod. It described the structure containing unreleased zoospores, which are present in a pod-like structure and closed structure. So the name is given as Chytridion or little pod. They are commonly called chytrids. They are microscopic organisms. Most of them are unicellular. Their diversity is overlooked because of their microscopic structures. They are more diverse than they were previously thought. So they are very small and small organisms, and hence they cannot be seen with the naked eye, so they are overlooked. These are the only organisms in the kingdom fungi that produce motile spores, that are the zoospores, at the some stage of their life cycle. So they do not always produce the zoospores, but at some stage they produce zoospores. These are one of the early divergent fungal lineages. It means that they are very primitive form of fungi. They are included in kingdom fungi due to the presence of chitin in their cell walls. Glucan is also present to some extent, but chitin is the major component of the walls of these organisms. They also possess a posterior whiplash flagella. Some species possess a single posterior whiplash flagellum, except a few species with polyflagellated cells. So their flagella are different from that of the members of Oomycota because they bear two different types of flagella. But in this phylum, the flagella are simple whiplash type, and mostly they are single flagella, and some species bear multiple flagella. Their mode of nutrition is absorption, which is similar to that of fungi, and they use glycogen as an energy storage compound. Their hyphae are cynocytic, and the zygote convert into resting spores. So these are the characters that shows these fungi, and these are the characters on which basis they are placed in the kingdom fungi. Chytrids are aquatic fungi. Some lives around the soil particles and are typically considered as terrestrial. They have been isolated from a variety of aquatic habitats, including peats, bogs, rivers, ponds, springs, and ditches, and terrestrial habitats such as acidic soils, alkaline soils, temperate forest soils, rainforest soils, Arctic and Antarctic soils. It means that they have a very cosmopolitan in distribution, means that they are present in every part of the earth, and they are ubiquitous, that is they are present in different substratum. For example, they are present in the water bodies, they are present in the soil. One of the least expected terrestrial environment the chytrids thrive are the periglacial soils. It means that this is the very exceptional environmental condition where these organisms thrive. These are the soils near the glaciers or under the glaciers. The population of the Chytridomycota species are able to be supported even though there is a lack of plant life in these frozen regions due to the large amount of water in the periglacial soils. So they can also survive in such type of environmental conditions. Some species of Chytridomycota exist in the gut of herbivores and some other members of the kingdom Animalia. So this is its habitat. Mostly are aquatic, some are terrestrial, and the terrestrial species are considered from where there are some minute pores in the soil, and they live attached to the soil particles, and they are also in extreme environmental conditions, that is the very frozen and frozen climatic conditions, including the periglacial soils. Now moving towards the modes of nutrition. They are saprobes as well as parasites. They are the primary invaders to decompose any substrate. It means that if there is any organic matter present on earth, then the first organism that will attack on the organic matter are these organisms that are the chytrids. So they are saprobic and degrade refractory materials such as chitin and keratin. They also decompose cellulose, hemicellulose. They also decompose the fruits and leaves of the plants. They also infect the skin of animals, and they also attack on the exoskeleton of the arthropods. Among parasites, they are the disease-causing agents in several plant groups, for example, vascular plants, mosses, and phytoplankton. Phytoplankton, these are the plants that are floating on the surface of water. And the animals, that includes the nematodes, mosquitoes, and beetles. They also infect the other fungi as well. For example, they also infect the other chytrids, vesicular or vascular mycorrhizal fungi, as well as the members of higher fungi, including the Ascomycota and Basidiomycota. So they are saprobic as well as parasitic in their mode of nutrition, and they parasitize the plants, animals, and fungi as well. Here I want to share some information from the fictional media. In this picture, you are watching the title page of the novel Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. It was published in 2007. It features a species of chytrid that feeds on petroleum and oil-based products. In this story, the species is modified using nuclear radiation to increase the rate at which it feeds on soil. It is then used as an attempt to destroy the world's oil supplies, thereby taking away the technological advantage of the United States. So this is the story background which is written in this novel by Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. So they use the chytrids to feed on the oil, and then different people used this for negative purpose. Black Mud Puppy is a webcomic series of comic published online by Athon. It is also available in the form of book which was originally published in 2013. It features a character with an evil where the man-made cartridge was developed in the lab to infect the black talking salamander. So here you can see the pictures of some comics by the Ethan, which is the writer of this book, and there are some also some video games related to this. You can search from the web and you can get the more information about these comics. So many cartridges can be grown either on axenic culture, that is on the petal plates, or in the case of certain parasites, they can be grown on dual cultures, that is some host cells are also there and some members of cartridge are also there, so they can culturable. There are a number of cartridges that are at least some direct importance to humans. Plant pathogenic species include Synchytrium endobioticum, it is very important, Olpidium brassicae, Physoderma medis, Europhyllactis alfalfae. So these are some important plant pathogenic fungi that belong to this group and they cause various diseases. For example, here you can see Synchytrium endobioticum. It causes black wart disease in potato. Here you can see the warty tissue here that appears on the potato tuber, and this mass is created by the infection of Synchytrium endobioticum on the potato tuber, and mostly this infection starts from the eyes of the potato tuber. Eyes are the parts where the vegetative growth starts, and the whole plant can be formed from this eye. So fungus infect on the potato tubers and they form the galls or the warts on the surface of the potato. Here in this picture you can see the Olpidium brassicae, which is a parasite of the root of the members in Brassica, that is the genus in Brassicaceae family. It also infects the leaves, particularly the cabbage. It also serves as a vector for a number of plant viruses that are economically very important in damaging the crops. So here you can see the root disease on the member of the Brassicae, and here you can see the roots are slimy, which are infected by the Olpidium brassicae, which get nutrition from the roots of the plant. Here you can see another disease caused by the member of chytrid or Chytridiomycota, that is the Physoderma medis, and it causes brown rot of corn. Here you can see the leaf of the corn and you can see the brown spots on the leaf. So this is the brown spot of corn and it is caused by Physoderma medis. It mostly infects the members of monocots. Here you can see the galls on the plant, that is the Medicago sativa, which is also known as in English alfalfa, and the fungus name is Physoderma alfalfae, and its previous name is Europhyllactis alfalfae. So Physoderma alfalfae is the new name and its synonym is Europhyllactis alfalfae. So it causes the crown wart of alfalfa. Here you can see this is the at the top, the galls are found on the alfalfa. In some literature, this genus is named as Cladochytrium alfalfae, but the current name is Physoderma alfalfae. Let's talk about the thallus of Chytridiomycota. The form of the thallus in the Chytridiomycota is diverse. There are two main forms of the thallus that are holocarpic and eucarpic. Holocarpic thallus and eucarpic thallus. Eucarpic thallus is further divided into two types, that is monocentric and polycentric. The monocentric thallus is again divided into two forms, that is endobiotic and epibiotic. Now we will see in the next slide how each of this group looks like. Here you can see, first look at the holocarpic thallus. Here you can see the holocarpic thallus. In biotrophic species, these are the species that get their nutrition from the living host. That are the biotrophic species that get their food from the living host, such as Olpidium and Syncytium. They are biotrophs, where the whole thallus is contained within the host cell. Here you can see the whole thallus is present in the host cell. This is the host cell, and this is the whole thallus of these fungi, that is Olpidium or Syncytium. There is no differentiation into the vegetative and reproductive part. So this is whole a reproductive part. There is no differentiation between the vegetative and reproductive part. At maturity, the entire structure except the wall which surrounds it is converted into reproductive units, that is the zoospore. So this whole structure will produce the zoospore except the wall of this structure. Or they also form the gametes, that is during the sexual reproduction, or they can also form the resting sporangia under unfavorable conditions. Such thalli are termed as holocarpic. Now consider the eucarpic thallus. These all three images show the eucarpic thallus. This is eucarpic thallus and this is also eucarpic thallus. If the thallus is differentiated into organs of reproduction, for example, the sporangia that arise from the vegetative part, which often consist of rhizoids. Here you can see the rhizoids and here you can see the sporangia. These serve in the exploitation of the substratum and the assimilation of the nutrients. So these are the vegetative parts which get the nutrients for the fungi. Such thalli are the eucarpic, that is the whole thallus is differentiated into vegetative and reproductive parts. Eucarpic thalli may have one or several sporangia and are then termed monocentric or polycentric. That is, they may have one sporangia or may have multiple sporangia. So these are the polycentric and these are the monocentric eucarpic thalli. In some species, there are both monocentric and polycentric thalli exist. These terms have descriptive significance, that is, they do not have any taxonomically important parameters. So these are just the differentiating or the descriptive terms, that is the monocentric or polycentric. Some species bear both. So we cannot use this character to classify these organisms. A further distinction has been made, especially in monocentric forms, between these in which only the rhizoids are inside the host cell. Here you can see, if the rhizoids are inside the host cell and the sporangium is external, it is the epibiotic. If the rhizoids are present inside the host cell as well as the reproductive structure is also present inside the host cell, so this is called the endobiotic. This is how the chytrids looks like under the microscope. So this is the microscopic image of the chytrid. Here you can see the vegetative part and this is the reproductive part, that is the sporangia. And here in this picture, you can see the image showing the polycentric thallus, and this thallus is stained with some bluish stain, maybe the cotton blue or trypan blue. We will discuss the detail of the stain in practical part. Now moving towards the reproduction in Chytridiomycota. First we will talk about the asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is carried out by the zoospores. The zoospores are uninucleate and uniflagellate and release from the papillate sporangia. Here you can see the papilla, and these are the papillate sporangia that either release from the pore are called the inoperculate sporangia. If there is only one pore from where these zoospores are released, these are called the inoperculate sporangia. And sometimes they release from the operculate sporangia. Here you can see this is the sporangia, and you can see here the lid-like structure is present over the surface of the sporangia, and this is called the operculum. So the species that release the zoospores from the operculate sporangia are called the operculate chytridiomycetes. Now moving towards the sexual reproduction. In many taxa, sexual reproduction is absent. If present, it is carried out by a variety of ways. For example, gametangial copulation, in which the entire contents transferred to the female from the male structure. You can read this data from the Lexopolus book, page 94 and 95. And planogametangial copulation is the three types: isogamy, anisogamy, and oogamy. Isogamy, in which both the spores are motile and they are similar in size and structure. In anisogamy, the one is smaller and other is larger, and they are morphologically different, and physiologically they are also different. In oogamous, one is larger and non-motile, and one spore is smaller and motile. So this is the planogametic copulation or gametangial copulation. We have studied this in detail. Then is the gametangial copulation. I already told you about this. That is the entire male contents transferred to the female. And then the somatogamy, in which two vegetative hyphae combine to form the sexual reproductive structures. Now moving towards the classes and orders in Chytridiomycota. According to Lexopolus et al., page number 95, there are 5 orders in this phylum, but recent classification suggests that this phylum includes 9 orders. So you can see the difference in Lexopolus 1997, and in recent studies, that is in 2018, this number is increased to 9 orders, from 5 to 9, and represented by 10 classes in the new classification. In this lecture, we will be talking about the one member of the Chytridiales that belong to the family Chytridiaceae in class Chytridomycetes, and we will be studying its life cycle. First, we will discuss the characters of the selected genus with which the representative species belong to. So you don't need to remember all these names. You just remember the number of the orders and number of the families, that is 9 orders, and the number of classes, that is 10 classes. Here you can see seeds represents the classes and ales represent the orders. So these are the 9 classes and 10 orders. So the first class is the Chytridiomycetes in the new classification. So you have to remember just this name from which our representative species belong to. The genus Synchytrium. In genus Synchytrium, thallus is colonial, that is, it is in the form of colony that has exogenous polycentric development. That is, it is polycentric, that is, its thallus has multiple sporangia along with the vegetative hyphae and divides into several reproductive organs, that is sporangia and gametangia, that are enveloped in a common membrane to form a sorus. So they form the clusters of the sporangia, which are called the sori. One of the best known species of this genus is Synchytrium endobioticum. Let's start with the classification of this species, then we will study its life cycle. Here you can see the classification. It belongs to kingdom fungi. phylum Chytridiomycota, class Chytridiomycetes, order Chytridales. You don't need to add DIO. Chytridioales नहीं होगा, Chytridiales. Family Synchytriaceae, genus Synchytrium, and species is Synchytrium endobioticum. Here you can see the black war disease, which is causes on the potatoes, and we have already discussed about this. It is a serious biotrophic parasite of potato tubers, and it causes the enlargement of the surface cells, which is called the hypertrophy. If the cells enlarges in size, this condition is called hypertrophy. These galls may be produced by the hypertrophy or may be produced the hyperplasia, and the hyperplasia is the increase in the number of cells. So the galls can be produced by the hypertrophy and hyperplasia in the infected tubers that cover them into useless masses of warty tissues or galls. These galls may also develop in the above ground parts of the plant, in which they cause the green mass. So if they infect the green part of the plant, for example stems, where the galls will be green in color because the cell will be the same. For example, if they are mesophyll cells, the mesophyll cells number or the size is increased, so the color remains the same. So on the potato tubers, sometimes they are also lighter in color. So here you can see the black war disease that appeared on the potato tuber caused by the Synchytrium endobioticum. In this picture, you can see the life cycle of the species Synchytrium endobioticum, and this picture is taken from Lexopolus book. Here you can see at A. This is the this is the stage from where the disease cycle starts. When the motile cells, the zoospore, are released from the sporangia, here you can see this is the sporangia. The zoospores are released from the sporangia. They could be the asexual spores or the sexual spores, also called the gametangia. So these spores could be the asexual spores here, or they may go towards the sexual reproductive cycles. That is, they may act as gametangia, male and female gametes. Here in this diagram, the motile spore at point A represent the asexual spore, and it infects the host by penetrating into the host cell. Here you can see in B, it infects the host cell. And here in C, it enters in the host cell and lies inside the host cell and to form the prosorus, that is before the appearance of the sori. Then this prosorus give rise to a germ tube. Here you can see a germ tube. And the next stage is the nuclear division. And here you can see the nuclear division, which is by mitosis. As a result, several nuclei are formed. And the structure that contains these nuclei can serve as the sorus. Here you can see the sorus, from where the spores or gametes will be released. So if they are they do not enter into the sexual reproduction, they are called the spores. And since these spores bears flagella, these are the zoospores. And if they go towards the sexual reproductive cycle, then these are called the gametes. These gametes, when released, then they will combine with each other on the basis of their compatibility. After plasmogamy and karyogamy, they enter into the diploid phase. Here you can see, if this is plus, this can be represented with the plus, and this can be represented with the minus, and they represent the isogamous of gametangial, planogametangial copulation. Then they will combine, their cytoplasmic contents will combine, and this is the plasmogamy. Then karyogamy takes place, This whole part is haploid. But here you can see after sexual reproduction, the diploid phase starts and then the zygote is formed. This zygote will infect the host plant by penetration and may become the resting sporangium. Here you can see maybe it become the resting sporangium or may infect the host plant. Then it matures to form a zoospore primodia. Zoospore primodia means initial stage of the germination of the zoospore. And after meiosis, this sporangia, zoospores are released, then can infect the other host. So these zoospores can be released and can infect the other host. This is how the life cycle of Synchytrium endobioticum proceeds. And the main stage is the haplontic phase, and the diploid phase is for shorter period of time. For detailed study, please refer to the book Introduction to Fungi by Webster and Weber, chapter number 6, and Introductory Mycology by Lexopoulos, chapter number 4. The link of reference of each source is given on the respective slides. Many thanks.